Hello.
Hey, there you
Oh,
are.
oh, sounds still off. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, that's better. Now I can hear you.
I really
Oh,
like that we get ready for the Eurocast. Like, we
yeah.
check if everything is working, not even
Mm.
60 seconds before it starts.
Yeah, exactly. And I was on the toilet and I was like, oh, it's time.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's just normal things for us.
yeah. It's uh, it's part of the course, you know. It's
Uh,
always like
yeah.
this.
I thought I'd do the announcement like early because I'm always late. But then I
And
completely forgot that we had the Eurocast like 10 seconds later.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. That can
Good man.
happen, you know.
That can happen. Yeah, I'm sure you're very familiar with that as well.
So
So
I
you
would.
pressing the button?
Well, I think might as well wait 2, 1. Happy year, everyone.
Happy anniversary!
So, you know what? I just realized
Mm,
I had to press the button on the stream, so
yeah.
we're actually live on Twitch. So, hello everyone.
Holy shit, man! We are actually live on Twitch. Hello, everyone. I'm back.
Yeah,
Sorry for not being there last week, Dante and everyone. It was I was unavoidably detained in a Swiss city. It's like third world country there. So
yeah.
it was
So,
impossible for me to do anything else but to give my apologies. And while the Afghan situation was completely spiraling out of control, I must say,
yeah,
you know.
it was
And
great,
yeah,
you know.
and I'd like to just remind everyone here that you were saying that Biden would be worse for European integration than Trump,
Uh,
during the elections.
I mean, to be fair, if we had Trump, he would have left as well, so we would still have pretty much the same. I think
Yeah. Mm,
it could have been even worse. You know, I can um,
yeah.
I
You
can
mean
think.
better? You mean better
Yeah, I mean
for
better
Europe?
for
For
European
Europe, yeah.
integration, not for Afghanistan, for the people in there.
Well, poor Afghanistan,
Yeah,
man.
Afghanistan would have been better, but yeah.
Uh, yeah.
So shall we start saying the topics?
Yes, let's start. Let's start. Welcome everyone. Welcome to the weekly Eurocast. I'm Snor, and this is Dante, and together we talk about European things all day and every day. So that's why we're here.
Yeah. So the
Yeah.
first topic, which is our title as well, it's going to be about the
Hmm.
EU army, because
Yeah, exactly.
maybe it's finally time. Maybe you're getting it. Who knows?
Maybe.
Stay
Yeah. I
tuned
mean,
and you'll know. Probably will not. You will probably not know, but stay tuned
no,
anyways.
but stay tuned anyway. Exactly.
So then we're going to talk
Uh,
about the terror attacks in Afghanistan and the
yeah.
situation there. And
Mhm.
since Snar wasn't here last week,
Yeah.
we're going to get his point of view.
Yeah. Well, my point of view is quite straightforward, so that will take about 1 minute.
Yeah, it's probably going to be like it's shit. Then
It's
we
shit. Move on.
move on. So I'm
Uh,
seeing we are going to talk about Nord Stream 2 here.
yeah. Yeah.
Germany
Exactly.
having issue there.
Yeah.
Then media
Ex
freedom in the EU, which is going to
hmm
be an interesting topic.
Yeah. I think that'll be a really interesting one, especially considering the purchase of Politico yesterday or the report that Politico would be purchased yesterday by a German conservative group,
Which is
media
sad.
group,
We
which
are
is
all
sad.
we're all sad about it. Then
Yeah.
speaking about Germany, Merkel is
Yeah.
on her way out. These
Yeah.
are her last
Exactly.
weeks, so we're going to talk about that a bit. And
Hmm
lastly, maybe we're going to touch a bit on some COVID updates, since COVID is still a thing apparently.
Yeah, I know. It just won't stop, will it?
Yeah, it's going to be. I want to just remind me because I want to talk about
Mm.
COVID a bit, because
Yeah.
I think if what I say, so we're going to go into it a bit deeper, but
Mm.
apparently maybe the vaccines start losing efficacy after 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Uh, so let's say you have to have your shot every 4 months. Pretty much you have always Europe will have to always be on vaccination. Therefore,
Yeah.
everyone else, I mean Europe, the US, whatever, richer nations. So poorer nations will never get any vaccines. So we are going to
Yeah.
get new versions of COVID. So we are going to get COVID till we die.
Exactly. Until we
If
die of COVID, let's
yeah,
be honest, right? Because we will die of COVID. All of us,
yes.
old, young, destitute, rich, doesn't matter. Everyone's going to die of COVID. That's
So
basically the conclusion. So,
yeah, so it's going to be a great episode, full of
yeah,
fun
exactly.
and
Lots of death and
optimism.
lots of yeah, exactly.
Speaking
Yeah,
about
lots of
death, let's
war
talk
crimes as
about
well.
the EU
Yeah.
bringing death upon its enemies with
Oh
its army.
yes. Oh, that would be so awesome, wouldn't it? So this week, after all the debacles, considering the move of people from Afghanistan to all over Europe, problems at the Kabul airport, which I'm sure most people have already heard about. I mean, the European Foreign Minister, basically the High Representative of the EU, Josep Borrell, said we need a European army, and the Commission's actually going to propose, as far as I know, about a new task force of about 50,000 soldiers to deal with things like Afghanistan. So, I mean, considering everything that's going on, I thought that it would be a lovely first topic because everyone on the Forum Gotterfunken and most people in Europe actually want that army, and it's been something that's been on the cards for a long while.
Yeah,
And
let's start
well,
from
I mean,
that. So, you said most people around Europe want it, which is something that you would not think because it's like
yeah,
it's one of those federalist things. But if you
yeah,
go
exactly.
look at actually like polls we have, the thing is obviously everyone has a different view of how such army would operate, what it means.
Yeah,
But the general idea of having European armies be closer together and have a stronger defense and have a European army, it's
yeah,
something that most Europeans agree with. It's obviously not like
exactly.
100% of Europeans. It's more like around 68%, I think, 65,
Yeah, I
something
think
of
so.
those lines. So
Or at least most people want something like an European army.
exactly.
I think that's a regional army rather than something that will go into other countries and fuck shit up. I mean, like I like America.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, each people in different member states have different views about such army. I mean, for example, if you are in Poland, you care more
Yeah,
about Russia coming in
yeah,
compared to
exactly.
Afghanistan. If you are French, you care about Africa because
Yeah,
they like to have adventures there. And
yeah.
if you are German,
Adventurous people, the French.
yeah,
They like to go. They like to move about a bit.
yeah,
So
quite a lot. And if you're German, you are more like I wanted to not like, just to stay here, do nothing, pretty much.
yeah,
So
yeah, pretty much.
each country has different views, but the idea of having each member state have a more unified defense, that's
Yeah,
something most people agree with. So
I think so.
that's the
Yeah,
starting point. Then we go to what happened in Afghanistan.
yeah.
What we are seeing
That
here
was yeah.
is some call it like the fall of the American empire,
Yeah.
which I mean to some degree, I don't think it's. I mean it's obvious it's a bit too much, but
Yeah.
it might be the fall of the U.S. we have known
As
in our
a
lifetimes.
global policeman,
Yes,
basically,
which is,
you could
I
say.
I think the US is going to go more towards what it used to be before World War II. Because,
More isolationist, you mean, or
yeah, exactly. I mean,
uh,
in its whole
yeah,
lifetime, the US has always been isolationist. It changed only after World War II because it was quite, I mean, it was mostly because of economics. It was a way
yeah,
for them to get richer. And then there was this Cold War and everything else. But I think they are already going back to being more isolationist, both as
Yeah.
in, and the thing is, it's really important here to say that it's one of those few things where both the Republicans and the Democrats agree. Now, leaving aside
Yeah,
that
exactly.
both of them now are crying about how Afghanistan is a mess, if you
Yeah,
go
yeah, and
back,
how it's the other person's fault, you know.
yeah, I
If
mean,
you're a Republican, it's
obviously,
Biden, and if you're a Democrat, it's Trump's fault and Bush's and
yeah, it's
Clinton's
obviously
and
they
et
can
cetera, et
find
cetera.
ways to bicker. It's they're
Yeah.
Americans. That's what they do. But if you go about the idea of leaving Afghanistan,
Mm,
they both agree. They both wanted
yeah,
it. They Republicans elected Trump because Trump was about not getting in wars in the Middle East and
yeah,
pulling out of Afghanistan. And
yeah,
for example, people more on the left wanted Bernie because Bernie was as well the idea of leaving those places because the US is imperialistic and whatever. So
mm,
it both in the left, in the center, in the right, wherever you go,
yeah.
they all
I
agree
mean,
that they
it's
should stop doing it.
yeah. I mean,
So
it's not really surprising after the misadventure in Iraq basically put everyone off, you know. And
yeah,
when Trump became president, he did so from an isolationist point of view as well, you know.
yeah,
America first.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean,
But
also more kind of like an adversarial stance against the world. So, you know, I mean, I've said this before that, you know, I mean, Trump is just a symptom of, you know, the American desire to be, you know, as it were, a self-sufficient unit onto their own. Um, and I think, you know, Biden kind of continues that because he knows that, you know, if he wants to win the next election, he will have to consolidate a part of the Republican base behind his position. And I think most of the Republicans are also like, yeah, we shouldn't be in other countries, you know.
mhm.
We shouldn't interfere, you know. I mean, the whole Bush doctrine of I don't know if people remember this, but the whole Bush doctrine idea was, you know, you go into somewhere and you bring freedom, you know.
Yeah, I
That didn't
remember
last
that.
very long.
But the thing
You
though
know what I mean?
is, I would imagine like uh, Iraq was different
Mhm.
compared to Afghanistan because Iraq was a war that there was really no reason for them to go there.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
if you want to talk, you could say toppling a dictator can be a reason in theory,
Mm.
but leaving aside that because that's not what it was about.
Yeah.
Um, that was a mess.
Mm.
Afghanistan, it had more of a reason. It was where
Yeah.
the
It
terror
was
attacks
the
were starting
exactly. It
from.
was the response to the Taliban not releasing Osama bin Laden into the care of the Americans. You know,
Yeah,
and by
so,
care I mean, you know, they would have shot him in the face.
well,
So
yes,
yeah,
yes, because it's the US, but
yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day, the thing is, Afghanistan was a safe haven for terrorists. So
yeah,
um, there was reason to go there, let's say.
yeah,
Now, the issue is it's been 20 years
mm,
and then we are going away because we like to say, I mean, it's mostly an American thing because obviously
mm.
they are the ones uh, they're
Yeah, that
there
were
with more
attacked
people
basically.
and
Yeah,
everything.
exactly.
It's more them, but it's not
Hmm.
like Europe has nothing to do with it. We have troops there. Italy does.
Yeah.
Germany does. We all do.
Yeah, the Netherlands does. We all do or did, you know. I mean,
Yeah,
let's be honest. You know, once NATO got involved, because people often forget that the Americans after September 11th triggered for the first time NATO's Article 5,
yeah,
and the whole of NATO basically accepted it, which means that everyone in NATO has to provide the Americans with all the help that they need for Afghanistan. You know, that was an agreement for 20
yeah.
years ago.
And
Um, and subsequently, we did, you know. That's why there's so many flights going. I mean, I believe that the airlifts have now stopped for the
I
cargo
think,
one.
as far as I know, Italy had its
Yeah.
last one today. Like today was
Mm.
the end of
Yeah.
it. Like we got everyone out, at least as
Yeah.
far as Italy is concerned. But yeah,
Mm.
there were airlifts for each country pretty much.
Exactly. I mean, that's how many countries in NATO have? 25, I think, or 27.
No, probably more. I don't know. Quite a few. That's for sure.
Uh, let's have
So
a look. 30.
yeah, yeah,
More than I expected, you
yeah,
know.
quite a few.
I mean, San Marino counts, I guess.
Yeah, I mean
But
that's. I mean Montenegro is a
yeah,
NATO
yeah,
member, I think. So it's not
yeah, yeah,
Montenegro
yeah,
can send
exactly.
much, but still.
Yeah. Luxembourg as well. Come on, man,
Yeah. So
Sorry, Luxembourgians. If anyone from Luxembourg is listening, I'm sorry. You've got a beautiful country, but you guys have a shit military.
now here's the question: if you
Mm,
are anyone in the military or know someone especially for the US since they had more of them. Like if you
yeah.
are a veteran or you know a veteran or you know a family where there was a
Mm,
veteran, someone that died in that war or got
yeah.
maimed or got PTSD, whatever.
Mm,
How do you even like? What was even the point? If
yeah.
after
It,
20
it's
years,
it's it's.
what did it
I
change?
think.
Nothing. Was it?
Yeah, I think this can be basically classed as NATO's Vietnam, really, isn't it? I mean, the,
Yeah,
the pictures were the same.
yeah.
The
Oh,
idea was the same. All of a sudden, the capital is their territory, and the in Vietnam it was the ARVN, the South Vietnamese army. They were shit.
yeah.
So was the
The thing though is that
Afghan army.
it
Yeah.
was a bit different though because with Vietnam,
Mm,
uh, I mean, it is similar, but on the other hand,
mm,
for example, when it comes to Kabul or whatever, it was fully under NATO control.
yeah.
We
Exactly.
like in Afghanistan there was NATO Afghanistan, which it was
Mm,
mostly under control, and then there were villages and whatever outside, which
mm,
were uh, it had
yeah.
Talibans, but it was mostly a stalemate. It wasn't like Vietnam where it wasn't. There
Mm.
was really not much of a.
Yeah, and then
Uh,
and then Trump basically said, "Okay, we'll negotiate with the Taliban. We'll pull out our troops, because as per agreement with the Taliban. And since then, the Taliban have just been taking tan after tan, really, haven't they?
yeah.
And and that's only been what is it? I mean, the agreement with the Taliban was, I think, at the end of Trump's tenure. So that's only been about a year, hasn't it? Of not even. And suddenly, the Taliban is in control. And I think, I mean, for NATO, this I think, in total, it must have cost 3 or 4 trillion euros in total. We're talking 2 trillion by the Americans themselves, and then the combined 29 others, probably another 2 trillion. Spending money in Afghanistan, education, rebuilding, those kind of things.
Don't forget the amount of bombs we dropped. Those cost a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah, that's all part of rebuilding, though. Let's be honest, right?
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean,
if you want to rebuild something, you have to destroy it first,
yeah. Otherwise, you can't rebuild.
right?
Makes sense. So
I mean, as you know, I like my new 3D printer. I'm very happy with it.
yes,
And the
got the
thing you
brick
have to
stuff.
do, yeah, yeah, no. The first thing you have to do when you want to do a new print is you have to get rid of the old one.
Of
You have
course.
to remove it from the bed. Make sure that everything's nice and level.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, makes sense.
Um, Incidentally, by the way, I saw this great video this week of the Taliban had captured some U.S. Equipment, and amongst that was a helicopter, and they were like, "Yeah, we got a helicopter now," but they didn't actually know how to fly it,
But yeah,
so they were just driving it across the runway, just backwards and forwards.
well, it's
I
not
thought
like
that was kind of telling, about what you can expect from going forward from the level of development that Afghanistan is going to be looking forward to.
yeah, but I mean,
Uh,
to be fair, I said the same thing about especially some equipment they got, especially when it comes to
mm,
jets, and they got those as well, some aircrafts.
yeah,
But if they have them and they are not at war, it's not like they
mm.
can't have people learn how to use them. Like they are.
Well,
It's
yeah,
not
kind of.
easy to be a pilot, but it's not like
Yeah,
it's impossible. You can have
yeah, but
pilots
no, I mean the thing is,
if you need one or
those
two.
things.
you know.
Yeah, but the thing is that if they do it wrong, they crash it, and then
Yeah.
their air force is gone. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's mostly the biggest issue is that even if you have whatever amount of planes, if you can't replace them, it's a bit of an
Yeah,
issue.
it's a bit of a yeah, exactly.
But on
It's
the other
it's
hand, it can be
yeah.
useful for internal, like if it's instead of using them as like when you have a war against someone else, they can use the helicopter to just go around Afghanistan and shoot down rebels or whatever.
Yeah.
So
They could drive it around, you mean?
yeah, that too.
I mean, seriously, I mean, if you can't get off the ground. I mean, on the other hand, I mean, I'm making light of this now, but let's not forget that the 9/11 terrorists managed to mostly get their stuff from flight simulators and a quick flight school, So
Yeah,
it's not like it's impossible to learn how to fly a helicopter. It's just,
yeah, but I mean,
it's yeah.
just to, I mean, there is a huge difference between getting a plane to fall where you want and guiding one. Like, it's
Yeah,
not
and
the
even
same.
I mean, a helicopter is even harder, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah, quite
you're not
quite a
talking
lot,
about
especially the
yeah,
departing and. I mean,
yeah,
I mean, it's the same with every aircraft. The other part is the start and the end. It's not
yeah.
when you are up there, mostly.
Yeah, then you're just cruising about, really,
Yeah,
You're in cruise mode, and that's not really a problem. So,
but
may we live in interesting times, basically,
yeah, I mean,
only God.
probably
Yeah,
they're getting themselves some Xbox Series X.
yeah,
Well, no, the Series S because they're not that
yeah,
rich, and they get themselves with Game Pass for free,
yeah,
Flight Simulator, and there you go. They
yeah, yeah. Suddenly, there's an uptick of people flying around in flight sim.
yeah, from
Trying.
Afghanistan.
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so many players from there.
Yeah, 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 exactly. I could just imagine being ATC on one of those games. But to get back to the original subject, this basically triggered, this whole thing triggered the European Union, and I think it was quite telling that
Did it though?
this kind of segue. Yeah, I mean, this kind of segues into how EU-US relations are developing. I mean, after Trump's departure, everyone was going, "Oh, okay, this is going to be the Great Reset, blah blah blah," But it turns out that because Biden is as we said, the Democrats and the Republicans basically have the same thing, same idea: get out of Afghanistan. Biden was like, "Yeah, we're just gonna go," and I think it really wrong-footed a lot of people. For example, there was a press conference that Biden held yesterday, and the first reactions from all over Europe were, "Oh my God, what the hell, man?" Because he was obviously sad because of the bombings at the airport in Kabul, but he didn't actually commit to anything, for the Afghan people, and that really kind of cheesed off a lot of Europeans. So it's the shift in narrative now is noticeable. NATO is no longer one unit, as it were, and I think that kind of ties into what
I don't know.
Macron said,
Yeah.
a few years ago. Yeah, NATO is basically brain dead, is what he said.
Yes.
And
The
I,
thing
I think
is,
I think Macron is opening a bottle of wine tonight. Let's put it like that.
well, I mean, let's be honest here for a sec. There is a
Yeah.
like we all agree on some level, but there is a reason why it's the French president saying that. There is a reason why the French don't like NATO. The idea of the French, it's not about an EU army as much as a French army which has Europe underneath. That's
Yeah.
mostly what France has always been about. So, you know, just saying
Yeah.
nice words. Just you have to remember
Yeah.
that each member state, unfortunately, still has to think of itself before of the EU.
Yeah.
An EU army would help everyone, but there is a reason why it's coming from the French and not anyone else.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, it's starting to become more of an accepted idea now that Borrell's weighed in, and now that Thierry Breton. I mean, the whole commission is starting to take notice now,
Yes,
of these things, and they are taking what Macron has proposed and just running with it, really.
the issue
If we
though
have
is
a,
that there is a big difference between the Commission saying stuff and member states doing them.
yeah, I
Uh,
know.
Especially when it comes to having a new army, especially if the idea here is that such army would be under the Commission, not under the Council. Because if it's
Yeah,
under
yeah,
the
yeah,
Council, what's even the point? There's no point in it, I think. Like,
yeah.
yes, it's better than nothing, I guess, but if it's under the Council and it's not even, if there is in the veto as well, it's going to be like the other force, the US. We already have one, and we are never used it, the battle groups, because
Yeah, yeah,
it's not
true.
under the direct control. The way it was set up, it was never going to be used. And I think this might end up being the same. Just saying.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, in the unlikely event that we get Afghanistan too, in, for example, the Sahel, anywhere else in Africa, or well, anywhere else in general. I think that the idea is to kind of to pool together a number of countries. I'm not sure if it's going to be the whole EU that's going to jump in. That would be, by the way, this is something that I think it was Profile who said it. That would be the most European thing ever, to like have a European army that's like not condoned by all the members, but is just a part of the EU that's joined in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which, yeah, that would be kind of nice. That would
I
be
mean,
very
do you
European.
really think that would? That's another question, though. Yeah, would such your army, like those 50,000 people, would they come from
Yeah.
uh, the Italian army, the German army, whatever, or would they be of the EU? Would they be Germany
Yeah.
sending its troops, or would be the EU raising troops? Because there's a big difference there.
Yeah, that is a very big difference. I think it will never see that go that far to see that the EU raises its own troops. Though, to be honest, I've been proven wrong before when it comes to, for example, the
We now raise
raising
our
of
own
money.
money. So
Yeah, exactly, we raised our own capital for COVID. So it's not unthinkable, but I mean, again, the EU only functions in a crisis, I think,
but
and
this
that
is
means
quite
that
the
we
one.
need we need yeah we need more crises.
Yeah,
People, please, if you're listening,
go do
start a
something.
crisis.
Yeah, or not, don't. Please don't.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we might get.
What does Wikipedia always say? You can help expand this list by adding to it or something.
Yeah, and
Something
then
like that. I mean.
tomorrow both me and you get droned by the US just to make sure.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well,
So
no, I mean, you're pretty safe, but the U.S. still has the Hague Invasion Act, which is, if we ever jail anyone or prosecute anyone in the international court, the ICC in The Hague, that they can invade us.
yeah, I mean,
So,
obviously
I
they
think
can.
you're safer than I am, to be honest, when it comes to that.
That's a fair point.
Mm. I think I might move to Italy soon. Because
Going back a bit, the thing is, we all know the reason why such EU army might be possible is because the US is leaving a void. Uh, Europeans, both as in countries and as people, we simply relied on the US to just do it instead of having to deal
yeah,
with it. If there was the need to, we could send help or whatever, but it was just let the US do it. They are
yeah,
happy to.
exactly. They're the policemen, exactly.
And we
That's
don't really care. But now they don't want to do it anymore, and on the
yeah,
other, and we on one hand don't really like to do it, but on the other hand we don't like what happens if no
yeah.
one does it.
No one does it exactly.
So we need
Look
to,
at the consequences of that possibility.
yeah. So we need to find a way to at least not fill the void, but have, I guess, a place.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to be like the next one is going to be the EU or whatever. It's probably going to become a multilateral thing at most.
Yeah.
But the EU wants, at least we need for the EU to have a place in there. It can't be, we can't just leave it all, for example, right now it's about China, Russia, India,
Yeah.
whatever, since those, I mean, they are there obviously, but we can't really leave it all up to them, especially
No, exactly.
because we have a duty towards Afghanistan to some degree. I mean, we did go there and bomb the
Yeah,
shit out of
exactly.
it, so
We helped create the situation, basically, isn't it? I mean, and
it's not,
therefore we have a
yeah, it's,
duty to, yeah, you know, we agreed with America. We are part of NATO, and we accepted Article 5 being implemented, basically. So, you know, it's just as much on us. But I think another kind of interesting thing is that, you know, I mean, NATO as a force will probably keep existing. Let's be honest. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
getting rid of
obviously,
NATO,
it's not like,
there's just, yeah. But they're more they might turn more into like the world's riot squad instead of like the world's policemen. You know, I mean, in Europe, when you know, this is the difference between America and Europe. If in Europe, when you call the police, you're not just calling the police, you're calling everyone. You know, you're also calling the social services. You're calling, you know, once the police gets involved, all the resources of that state, you know, are kind of implemented. So if you know if you burglar a house, chances are you go to jail. But in jail, you also get visits from, you know, social workers, and you know,
well, here,
well, yeah, you know.
not in the US.
No, not in the US. You know, let's be honest. You know, I mean, so I mean, as it were, I think Europe is more well situated to become the world's policeman and social worker. Yes, hello. I've got a cat here. Hello.
No,
And
the
you
thing
know,
is,
yeah,
I don't know, like, I think NATO is not even going to become like the riot police even. I think it's probably going to be just a defense force, which is not going to be used much, if ever.
yeah,
And the EU army is going to be the riot force, which is not going to be like a police, but it's going
yeah,
to be a force that you can deploy sometimes in some situations to maybe, let's say, I don't know, something happens in a European, like an ambassador, I don't know what, wherever, and then you send that force to help Europe have
yeah.
to have like some
Exactly. I
control
mean,
there.
you know, say that, you know, there's a problem in an African country, and you know, our ambassador has tried to do his job. The country's falling apart, and we need to evacuate. You know, and that's when you'd call that force in. You know, it's not like we would probably send someone just to fuck shit up if we don't agree with it. You know what I mean? Whereas, sorry, Americans, if you're listening, but America has the reputation of doing exactly that. Say,
Yeah,
so for us to do would be more logical as to become.
I
So
mean we would like to at least. I
yeah,
mean you can never know how it actually goes.
yeah, exactly.
Um, so there's on the chat here, Kenya asked,
Mm,
he said, we have no duty to Afghanistan since the Taliban were there before the invasion. I mean, it's true they
mm,
were there, but we went there
yeah,
and we stayed there for 20 years. So
yeah,
we do have a duty towards the Afghans that
yeah,
we gave them hope. I mean, it's not like
mm,
everyone agrees with Taliban, far from it.
yeah.
And on the other hand,
I mean,
even
we
if,
took the responsibility. You know,
yeah,
that's the key
even if you
element.
leave
Yeah.
that aside, we did bomb the shit out of that country. Like, that's leaving aside the moral and the rights and everything else. Like,
Yeah.
the Taliban are not the best people. So even leaving that aside, I'm pretty sure that if they were there for the last
Mm,
20 years, if there was no war, probably Afghanistan would have been a bit more developed than it is now. War doesn't
yeah.
really help uh,
No.
getting. I mean, it can help if you are the US and war is on the other side of the ocean, but if war is
Yeah.
in your own country, that doesn't help
Then it's
with
not very good for your economy.
for your
Exactly,
economy.
and for
Yes,
the development of
so
your people. Exactly. Yeah.
we went there, we did
Mm,
stuff. So
mm,
uh, we kind of, I mean, you can say that you don't care, which is fine. Like it's a fair assessment. It's not like you need
Yeah.
to, you have to do it or whatever. But if you want to go about moral duty, we do have it. Then you can just say, I don't care about it. It's not like a moral duty means a legal one or whatever. You don't
Yeah,
have
yeah,
to do it.
exactly.
But I think at least morally, we do have a duty towards Afghanistan.
I think so too. I mean, the thing about the situation in Afghanistan is that, if we were to have left, right after Osama bin Laden was caught, there would be a point, then we could say, yeah, what's going on there now is no longer our problem, but we didn't,
Yeah.
we decided to support the Afghan government, and we decided to support the Afghan, to interfere in the internal relations of a country, which is something that you shouldn't do willy-nilly, and it's something that you should continue to you can't just leave it once you've once things don't go your way, as it were. And I mean, it's really hard to say, to which extent do we claim responsibility for all of this. I think that's really beside the point. We have to accept that once we went in and we stayed, that we took on a task, and basically we fucked it up. So at the moment we do have a moral responsibility to the people who are affected by our choices. I think people that think in groups always kind of, it kind of irritates me, because we're talking about individuals as well. Say you're Mahmoud in Kabul. You've had you've sold ice creams to the Dutch military there, and suddenly you're on a hit list from the Taliban.
Yeah.
I think that's then we do kind of have a kind of moral responsibility, because we put those people in that situation, or
Then
at least we allowed this situation to continue, as it were.
there's the
So
thing. It's been 20 years. Like since we are talking about, so let's talk about like FG. Most of the people are in their 20s, early 20s, or even
yeah,
less than that. So
exactly.
there are people, like imagine yourself living in Kabul. You have,
Yeah,
since you were born till a week ago, you were living. I mean, it's not like Afghanistan in Kabul was the like a heaven of human rights or whatever,
no, no, of
but
course not.
at least you were under the protection of NATO, and you had one life. And now
Yeah,
the Taliban are the new,
exactly. I mean, the civil war is suddenly on your doorstep again.
and that's you
Like
have
again, it's
always
for the
lived
first
there.
time.
You
Yeah,
don't even
exactly.
know Afghanistan before the war.
Yeah,
There are a lot of people there living that they have never been before there. They were born
yeah,
18 years ago or whatever. So
yeah,
it's not as easy as one would like. And by the way, I think it's important to say, just because we have a moral duty doesn't necessarily, like, I think that the moral duty is there. I don't think there's much
yeah,
to argue there. What you can argue is how much it is, and more importantly, what you need to do about it. That you can say, I have a moral duty, and what you need to do is say sorry, and that's it.
yeah,
You could
yeah,
say what we need to do is that, or whatever. So what you need to do about that might change
yeah.
based on your the way you think, like your
Yeah, an event on the ground. Let's be honest. I mean, if the Taliban suddenly starts assassinating people left, right, and center who are waiting for a
yeah,
plane,
obviously,
and
yeah,
then yeah, you have to take responsibility for that as well.
yeah. It's
So
but yeah, what you do about it, it's more up to you, I think.
yeah, and
Uh,
I think that's why the proposal from the European Commission is so interesting. If you have a task force of 50,000 men that can just be dropped into a country,
yeah, it's
which is falling apart, and which you have a duty to fix, and to do as much as you can to help the people that have helped you. That would actually be a really good idea, because how it went this time. you could, I mean, the first scenes of Kabul airport will always kind of remain in my mind. People running towards the planes, people falling out of the planes mid-flight. People being stuck in the wheel wells of planes. This is something that as a European, seeing things like this is just completely shocking to see something like this happen. And I think the kind of the impetus that this gave is why the commission is responding so strongly. They can see that should this ever happen again, we have to be ready. And I mean, talking about the European Union, if there's anything we do well, right, as Europeans, is prepare for the worst. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think a European battalion ready to jump into a country, evacuate people is the very least we can do for our people.
Yeah.
Not even to mention what we can do for people like the Afghanistan translators, the ice cream sellers.
Yeah, that's why I said, like the idea of calling it more like a riot police force instead of a police force. I don't know if it's the idea is it's never going to be. I don't think Europe is ever going to go like a full-on war against
Yeah.
any country. But the
No.
idea that we might send a battalion towards
Yeah.
one city, like say to Kabul, to
Yeah.
have
That would be.
the airport under and have it like a secure
Yeah, exactly.
perimeter
And
there.
don't
And
forget, I mean, airports are international. By law, they are international
yeah,
areas as well. So it's not like you're really invading a country. That you're protecting your assets. Which are in the international.
well, not really.
Well, yes, kind of, and yes and no, right? But
Well,
the argument can be made.
it's not. I
You know what
mean,
I mean?
technically speaking, not really.
Yeah.
Even when it comes to an embassy,
Yeah.
it's not like the embassy is your country. The
No, no, no,
embassy
no.
is still their country, but you are like leasing it.
Yeah.
So they can just say it's not an embassy anymore, and
Yeah.
they can do
That's
it.
exactly what's happening right now with Kabul airport, by the way. I mean, the
Yeah,
Taliban is basically saying, this is now our airport. That there's no international this and that.
yeah, you
Our
can
airport.
say yeah, exactly. So
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, the let's see here. All Glory says the 50K proposal is a fantastic thing, but the question is how realistic the proposal has passing. How realistic is it? Well, I mean,
I mean,
kind of depends on which countries are going to be involved in this. I don't think this will be a Europe-wide thing in first instance.
the thing is, if
Yeah.
which it's an interesting idea I'm having here because it could be, it can be two ways. It can be a European force, or it can be
Yeah.
member states sending their people, like in the battle groups. The battle groups right now are composed of
Yeah.
people from around Europe's
Exactly. The
from the
Dutch
member
and
states.
Germans, or the Germans and the Italians, and
Yeah,
those kind
sending
of.
people
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah.
if you need to use the Germans, Germany needs to be on board, obviously, no.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if which I'm not saying I don't think it's likely, but if it's going to be a European force, if Europe in itself is raising the troops, like saying, do you want to join the EU battle group, and your country is the EU, not Italy, even if you're doing it in Italy, then you don't need Italy necessarily to be on board. I don't know if like you don't necessarily need each country to be on board. You just need them to say, okay, you can do it. Whoever comes. Italy doesn't have any. It's not like Italy needs to send its army. It's
No,
simply
exactly.
people doing whatever they want. So that could help in theory. You don't need to convince Italy to use half of its military.
Yeah, exactly. There's already something ready, and Italy can be
Italy still has its own.
absolved as yeah, and
It's
Italy still has its own thing, and they can still respond to that. So that would be
so
nice. I think to be honest, it does have a chance of succeeding because I mean,
on the other
it's a
hand,
crisis. Yeah.
I wonder what's the the minimum? Would it be like in PESCO, which is if it's going to be like the strong whatever it's called. When it comes to the EU, we have a way to have deeper integration. To do so, you
Yeah,
need to at least 8 or 9 member states with
yeah,
a certain amount of people. I don't remember all the requirements, but that's the minimum. Would that
yeah.
be how we do it, or would
I
it
think in
be,
first instance probably yes. I mean,
or can it be done with even less? Because I'm thinking, what if it could be just done between Italy, Germany, and France, for example? You don't need
yeah.
everyone on board. Uh, I think
I
it's
think
interesting on
yeah.
how you do it.
I mean, the thing that comes to mind for me is that embassies. So if you are in a country, right, and you as an Italian don't have an embassy there to respond, you can go to any European embassy and knock on the door, and they will be obliged to help you. And I think that will probably be something like that. What we'll see, we'll see, a certain number of countries giving troops, but that the remit of the battalion will be, if someone knocks, from any EU country, we will show up. We will go there and go, do what's asked. Of course, a country doesn't have to ask it. Um,
so
let's say Hungary, a Hungarian embassy in Myanmar is attacked. I mean, just for sake of argument, and the Hungarian Prime Minister wants, a response to this, which doesn't involve, sending Hungarian troops there. It would be very plausible to use this battalion, to rescue the embassy personnel, for example.
yeah,
You know,
that's which
and that yeah, exactly, and that who supplies the militaries to that is basically irrelevant, right? Probably all Germans or all Italian,
I mean most likely yes.
most likely, yeah, yeah.
He
So I
was
mean,
so in the
yeah,
chatters we're saying here that 50,000 it's quite a lot
mm,
to invade a third world country.
yeah,
Yes, I mean the thing is depends what you mean by invade, because if
yeah,
what you're saying is getting on a city and
mm,
having a safe perimeter, and uh, that's possible. If you want to invade a country, you can do it with just 50,000 people. Like, uh, depends a lot on what you mean by invading. If you
yeah,
just want to have control over, I don't know, let's say any African country, those are
mm,
big. Just literally
yeah,
having people, just if you want one person in each town, you're not even there yet, probably.
no, no, yeah,
So, but yeah, 50,000 in itself, it's quite, it's not bad. It's a decent, uh, decent amount. Especially if you want to take control of, let's say, a capital or
mm,
wherever. Let's say you have your embassy in a smaller town, which is not the capital. Sometimes
mm,
it's not just the capital. It might be the second, the third biggest city, whatever.
yeah,
That could be easily done with 50,000 people. That's quite a lot if you just want to get a hold of one city. The whole
yeah.
country is a bit much, but with the idea of having a safe place to operate from, it's already a
Yeah.
lot.
I mean, on the other hand, I mean, I'm thinking also about, what France is currently doing in Africa as well, in the Sahel. They've got troops spread across, what is it, three or no? It's let's see, I've just looked it up. It's Burkina Faso, Chad, Mali, Mauritania, and Niger. If you add up the troops there um, from all the people there, I think we're talking about maximum of 6,000 troops, which are there. Don't forget that, of those 50,000, at least 40,000 will probably be just support,
Yeah, I mean,
and you
depends a
know,
lot what how they want to divide it, how much. Because, for example,
yeah,
Black Owl here is saying that in Kosovo we have 3,000 NATO troops.
mm,
And the thing is, for example, when it comes to, especially for the EU missions there,
mm,
it's more like sending teachers to teach the police or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not necessary. It's not like it's military personnel by itself. It's more.
Exactly.
It
Yeah.
can be civilians, you know. So
Yeah.
it could be that about those 50,000, there's like 5,000 actual people that can use planes or whatever, and guns and stuff, and there are the other 45,000. It's bureaucrats that are there to help get on with the asylum seekers or whatever, you know. So we don't know yet how they're planning to do it. But if it's going to be a 50,000 battalion of just military personnel, that's a lot.
Yeah. That's a lot of people, exactly. You know, I mean, you can actually invade most third world countries with less.
Yeah, I mean, as I said earlier, it depends a lot what you mean by invading. You can't have a full control of that country, but yeah, you can invade it and have a
the
safe.
capital, most of the resources.
Yeah, or just having, I don't know, a port city or whatever, having it that's yours, and have a foothold, and if people want to, let's say, you need a way to have migrants flee from there for some reason. Like, let's say in Afghanistan, you need to flee to help those that are aiming, like the Taliban, which are in their watch list because they sold ice cream to the Dutch, which is a serious offense. If you need
Never sell ice cream to the Dutch people, by the way.
if you need
they'll
to
put you on a hit
airlift
list
those
if you tell
people,
that.
if you need to, if you need to airlift those Afghans, you need to have a safe landing zone and stuff. So you need some troops there to keep a perimeter safe. Otherwise, it's impossible, you know. And 50,000 is a lot to do that. With 50,000, and obviously, it's not like the EU is going to use them all in one place. They're going to be obviously divided in different missions, I would imagine.
Yeah.
But
No, I think as well, you know, don't forget that once you know, let's say, you know, somewhere in Ethiopia, you know, that there's such a problem. And once the EU goes in there, it's not like you can really withdraw your troops because, you know, you taking up airport security on the name of the government of that country, and they might not be very reluctant to send troops to relieve you because, you know, you're doing such a great job. And you know their insurgents won't go anywhere near you because they'll get shot in the face, you know.
yeah,
You know, it will probably, I mean, I can see this kind of becoming like the EEA, where it just expands into this massive organization at some point.
yeah. I mean,
You
the
know,
thing
and then
is,
50,000 is kind of, you know, relevant, I think.
yeah. I mean, if this happens and it's used the way we are imagining, which is going to be more like missions of bringing some sort of stability in places where something happens. So let's say, for example, Boko Haram somehow gets bigger and you need to have a safe haven. If we use it that way, what is going to probably happen? Those 50,000, you need to leave, let's say, 10,000 in that place to keep that. Then it's going to be 10,000 in another place. At some point, you're going to be out of it, and you're going to get 50 more thousand or 10 more thousand, whatever. And in 10 years, it's going to be a million strong troop, probably.
Exactly. I mean, look at Frontex. You know. I mean,
the same thing.
Started off as, you know, we're going to keep an eye on the borders in Europe, and now they're already checking passports in Gibraltar. You know what I mean?
Which
So,
I know we shouldn't be this way, but it's kind of
but it
funny
is.
that the EU army is checking Brits' passports. Just saying, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, it is. Thank you, Britain, again, you know, for sacrificing yourself for us. You know, we appreciate it. We know what you've done for us, you know. So thank you.
Do you think Borrell would be the one who has control over such army?
I don't know. I mean, the EEAS already has kind of a structure, doesn't it? The difference is that once you give it to the council in that way, I don't know if you know, that would maybe be against some of the treaties that were signed, since that national security will always remain part of the, you know, remit of the country. So I don't know, I mean, I know that, when you leave it up to the council, that, they'll probably come up with some newfangled way of doing it. So
Yeah.
it wouldn't surprise me if at some point we just saw that, there's a new EU agency, or maybe even the European Defense Agency that
Which, by the way,
gets.
since we are talking about this, just
Mhm.
letting everyone know, if
Yep.
this happens, which I think there is a good, like, I'm not saying likely, as in, I think it's like 50-50, 60-40, whatever. I think
Mhm.
there is a good chance. It's not necessarily like it's going to happen, but it might happen. But it's most like, I don't know, like say it's 50-50, but I'm sure
Mhm.
100% that it's not going to be the way you want it to be. It's
Yeah,
never going to
exactly.
be that. This is the EU. We have
Yeah.
27 member states, a parliament, a commission. You need to get everyone on board.
Yeah.
Therefore, it's going to be, you
It's
know,
going to look vastly different from anything that we expect.
it's
It's
going
going
to
to be like a
be good enough in some things. It's going to be
yeah,
annoying in other things. It's going to be awful in other things.
yeah,
But
exactly. In the end, the overall aggregate will probably be positive.
it might be even just like the only way for it to deploy the troops, you need
Mhm.
everyone to agree.
Yeah.
Literally, even Flanders
Yeah,
needs to
yeah,
agree.
Malta, Flanders, you name it. Yeah,
Even every mayor in every
yeah,
every
yeah.
every city, every town needs to agree. It could go to that. It could become that.
Yeah, this is the EU we're talking about. We do things only by compromise and agreement. So I think that Dante has a very good point here, guys. What we envision and what we want will be completely vastly different from what we'll get.
Yeah.
uh, but speaking of Afghanistan, I mean, this week there was the big ISIS terror attack there. And we saw some heinous pictures there of not only the Americans getting killed, but a lot of Afghans were also targeted by ISIS.
Which, by the way, I'm not sure because they do have military missions, but it might
Yeah,
be. I was reading that it's like the deadliest attack on U.S. military since quite a while, and
yeah, yeah,
makes sense.
exactly.
It's not like they have been in actual open warfare for quite a while. It has always it's been mostly about peacekeeping and stuff.
Yeah,
So uh, just putting that into perspective, like even
yeah.
for a warring country like
Mm.
the US.
I mean, Afghanistan's been really quiet, up to now,
Yeah, I mean,
terror-wise, and
used
I
to be.
mean, yeah, used to be worse.
So yeah, the terror attack was quite even for the US. It was quite because if you think about it, as actual like a terror attack, it has. If you are talking about Americans, was 9/11 the last one?
No, 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 no. There's been
Like sure that
multiple things.
there's
Yeah, I mean the biggest one is of course 9/11, but I mean since the invasion of there've been so many times that
I mean
it's
yes,
almost a meme at this point.
yes, but actually because it's a bit different when troops die in open combat compared to
Yeah,
and it happens they get ambushed or whatever. But when they are like at the airport as a more of
yeah,
a I don't know a defensive thing
yeah.
most
Yeah, defensive thing exactly. Yeah.
it's
I believe that
doesn't happen
Biden
often.
actually said. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think that Biden said that in the next 24 to 48 hours we can expect another one like this.
Uh,
This is far from over.
yeah, it's
Um,
probably
yeah, yeah,
which it for sure shook Europeans.
yeah.
It's not something that Europeans really wanted to see us to see. and I know it's
I
going to
mean,
be.
yeah, definitely going to affect relations, you know. And the thing that I don't get, you know, I mean, and maybe you've got an idea, or maybe people in the chat have got an idea. You know, Pakistan has always been majorly involved with, you know, the Taliban and the insurgency against the Americans.
Mm-hmm.
You know, on one side playing the Americans, on the other side, you know, helping them. And you know, I mean, this is really, you know, because this wasn't the Taliban, this was ISIS, you know. And as far as
Yeah,
I've
but
read, at least, the Taliban hate ISIS just basically just as much. You know, the only
mm,
people kind of defending them are the Pakistanis.
yeah,
You know,
but the
don't
thing
forget.
is, the Taliban's didn't. It's not like they didn't really get out of their way to stop the attack. You know, uh,
Yeah.
uh, even if it's ISIS,
Yeah.
even if the Taliban didn't do it themselves, uh, obviously we don't know everything, and to some degree it's almost conspiracy theory here. But I do imagine the Taliban to just uh, like
Yeah.
leave the door open and
Yeah.
let
Yeah.
them do the thing. So they
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah. Do
do
whatever you
it,
want, guys. You know, we're
but they
busy.
let like uh, it kind of like depends on the way you look at things, but they kind of
Yeah.
did it them. It's like they're almost like the senders. They didn't actually do the thing, but they made it possible. So
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, I think, you know, I mean, it's hard to say because, you know, the situation in Kabul is so dynamic and so, you know, unhinged, as it were. You know, with the Taliban controlling part of the city, the U.S. military and the Taliban actually on joint patrols and shit. You know, I mean, you know, that there's so much going on right now. I don't think we can really say that, you know, the Taliban has been helping them. Maybe some people in the Taliban, but, you know, not the, you know, not everyone, obviously.
I don't
Um,
think though that the Taliban has
yeah.
as their highest priority stopping ISIS and terrorism.
No, exactly. You know, it's probably more like closing shop windows for, you know, because there's a female lingerie
Yeah,
in the
which
story. You know? I mean, that pisses all of us off, to be honest. You know,
yeah,
let's be honest.
yeah, obviously.
You know, can't have that. You
But
know.
by the way, I have to say something that I found kind of funny.
Yeah.
So, you know, TV news. Tonight I was watching TV, and they were talking about American troops leaving and some images of Marines giving sweets or snacks, whatever, to the kids there. And
Yeah.
it had like that hopeful message of even if we are going away, the kids there will remember the Americans that gave them the
Yeah.
snacks. And I was going,
Yeah. Yeah.
no, I think they're going to remember more the bombs. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't really think after we go away, like the new
Yeah.
generation is going to miss us or whatever. They're just
No,
going
I
to
don't
go
think so
be
either. You know.
fine and become
Yeah.
Talibans.
I mean, let's be honest, right? If you're a kid and someone gives you sweets, you'll like them, but it's not like, you know, you like them forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if your dad
Yeah.
tells you to hate him, you don't. It's not that. It doesn't take much, you
Yeah,
know.
and not only that, I mean, you know, we live in a more connected world than, you know, in the 1980s when, you know, you could go around and then, you know, the kid that you just gave ice cream to, you know, or sweets to, will go to his village and will go, listen up, you know, these Americans are kind of good, nice guys, you know. No, people will already be on their mobile phones checking Facebook and, you know,
Yeah, but
looking, you
it's
know,
it's
yeah,
not
but look
even.
at what they did there, you know, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's not like the Americans just got there. They've been there for
No, no, no,
20
exactly,
years.
yeah. Yeah.
Afghans have been hating them for 20 years.
Yeah,
If he goes to the village, let's say, what he's
yeah,
going to find at most is everyone telling him that the Americans are the evil, are Western, uh,
yeah,
whatever, devils and stuff.
yeah,
It's not
yeah,
like
exactly. Yeah, the Great Satan, basically,
yeah,
what the
the
Iranians call
ship
them,
of
isn't it?
having them love
Yeah,
the Americans, that has already sailed quite
yeah,
a long
yeah,
time
quite a
ago.
while ago. I mean, it
So,
kind of reminds me of what happened in Iraq as well. You know,
yeah.
in Iraq, the Americans came in. In first instance, most people were happy to see them, But because of let's be honest, right? The Americans are not very good at bridge building, with local populations.
Yeah.
When it comes to giving people sweets just doesn't cut it. If you can't repair their water supply, what good are you? Um, so I think that really kind of factors into how Afghanis will view the Americans as well.
I
It'll
mean,
be more like a disappointment than active hatred.
I just want to say you
Mm.
could have used any example, but
Yeah,
obviously as a Dutch you went to water. I just saying. I
of
find it
course.
I find it interesting to say the least.
Yeah. Yeah, Dutch use water as examples. Italians use fire because your country's on fire all the time, and
Yeah.
you know.
And we use that fire to make the best pizza though. So,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think you got that from Vesuvius. First time that really went up, you were like, yeah, man, we can use this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's how you use a
Ah,
volcano.
yeah, exactly. Don't mind the earthquakes. It's fine.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting how the news was trying to make it a bit less. Which I mean, to some degree, it's not. It's a bit disingenuous. It's
Yeah.
not real. It's not really true, but it's a nice message to give at least. I guess it's not
Mm.
like we are getting many good news, so might as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think not really going to be the best for Afghanistan in the future. Don't have much hope.
No. No, I don't
Uh,
think so. Yeah.
Speaking about hope,
Mhm.
Germany might not have much hope about its Nord Stream. So
Yeah.
walk
Nice
us
segue
through.
there, mate.
Yeah, I know. It's called being a professional podcaster. I get paid nothing to do it. So
Yeah, I know, right? It's a thankless job, but someone has to not do it.
yeah,
And
the world would be much better if no
yeah,
one did it. But yeah, we're here.
this kind of goes into two subjects that we have tonight because it's also Merkel's last hurrah, as it were.
Yeah.
If
So
let me get the calendar, right? Let's see here. German elections are on the.
so while you look into
Um,
that,
yeah,
just let me give a brief overview here.
yeah,
Merkel is on her last term, but that's because
mm,
she chose to. Uh, Obviously, she's a prime minister, let's say, just so
mm,
everyone can understand.
yeah,
So it's not like a president that has a term limit or whatever. She could be elected
mm,
forever, as far as the laws is concerned.
mm,
But she decided that she doesn't want to run anymore, and
yeah.
that's
Let's be honest, right? She's tired of seeing Putin's face. Everyone
yeah,
is.
probably. And I
Oh
mean,
gosh, damn! Yeah, I have to meet this asshole again. You know.
it's not just. Let's be serious here for a sec. If you're Merkel, I mean, I think anyone can blame her for some things she has done.
Yeah.
Maybe she didn't do enough on some things, or too much on other things. Whatever.
Mm,
I think we can all agree that she probably is a smart person, you know,
mm,
and
yeah.
she had to deal with not many smart people. Not everyone elects smart people,
Yeah.
so I can see her getting exhausted
Yeah.
from the work there.
And let's also be honest, right? Without Berlusconi, it's just not fun.
Yeah, it's not. So she
For
decided
those
to.
that don't know it, Berlusconi and Merkel always have a great relationship. I think he called her an unfuckable lard arse.
Yeah, yeah, he did.
Literally.
Yeah, he
And
did.
but he's also played hide and seek with her,
Yeah,
which is really nice.
yeah. It's like
It's not like they're all hatred and
no, it's like friends. Friends
yeah.
call each other names to have fun. So she's not going to run again, which is going to change. It's interesting how the biggest change in German society, it's not even COVID or the last economic crisis, whatever. It's probably
Yeah.
going to be Merkel going away because so many Germans are not used to the idea of not having Merkel there.
Mm,
And I mean, obviously, it's still going to be her party, but the idea of having someone else can be a big change for Germany. And speaking about big changes, I'm going back for a sec here.
Yeah.
Not getting Nord Stream 2 maybe. So
Yeah, that's interesting.
can you walk
So,
us through that topic?
yeah, so for those that don't know it, Nord Stream is basically the pipeline that Russia and Germany are building through the Baltic to link up the Russian Gazprom oil supplies and the German need for not freezing in the winter. And this is actually quite a hot geopolitical potato, because by building this here, the Russian state is circumventing Ukraine, which for years has been like the transfer country for gas to Europe from Russia. And this is creating quite a number of problems. I mean, this week, for example, the Ukrainian leader basically said that that he has zero confidence that the EU will or that Germany will use its political and economic might when it comes to Nord Stream to keep the Russians on board, and not like, okay, we've just signed this agreement, let's invade Ukraine now, boys. And on the other hand, there's also a number of challenges which are being fought in the courts at the moment. I mean, Nord Stream is now about 95% done, maybe 98% done. I think the only thing they need to do is build one or two more stations and complete a little bit of paperwork, and then basically it's going to be working. So this is a big hot political potato. And this week we also saw German court rule that the Nord Stream 2 has to adhere to EU rules when it comes to competition and stuff like that. I'm just pulling up the article right now, but I mean, as it goes, to me at least, it looks like Nord Stream 2 is still happening.
Yeah.
But it's
I mean, let's be honest.
Germany is really being driven into a corner by a number of people to
Yeah, but
start.
the thing is, once you have spent that much money and you're almost done, you don't just not finish it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's almost no chance of that not happening.
It might be that maybe there's, based on competition laws, like more than one company can use it or whatever. Like there might be some changes in that respect on the economics of it, but the infrastructure it's there almost finished, and it's going to be finished. It's not like as a country you can't really afford to spend that much money and not finish it at that point. Even if it costs more than you were expecting it to cost or whatever, at that point you just have to finish it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
it's going to
And
happen.
I mean, when we're talking about like court cases and stuff like that, it's not just like the EU trying to get Germany to do what it wants, but it's also Russia going to the courts to see if they can push Germany into completing this as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And one of those examples took place about 2 days ago, where the German courts ruled that that because of the European rules for fair competition, other other gas providers have to be given the same rights as Gazprom, and Gazprom of course doesn't want that. They say it's discriminatory. So
Yeah,
I mean,
obviously.
this is typical Russian behavior, to be honest. But I mean, Nord Stream 2 will always be a big kind of subject. It's also now that the US has kind of backed off on it, because if you remember, there was a whole lot to do about the Biden administration looking into Nord Stream and stuff like that, and then Angela Merkel, really went. She went over to the States. She had to word with Biden. She basically convinced him not to sanction Germany in particular for building this pipeline.
Yeah, but it's not like, let's be honest, the US could not ever stop it. Germany, if Germany wants to make it, Germany might make it. It's not like the US can do much about it. And it could
exactly. But
put
the
sanctions,
EU can.
but if you put sanctions on Germany, how do you, I mean, you can do some form of sanctions, but if you want to go about economic ones like on tariffs and stuff, then you have to do it on the whole EU. You can't
Yeah,
do that because you don't really
yeah.
do that. So there
And the
wasn't
EU
really
will
much.
retaliate. Let's be
The
honest,
US,
right?
the
If
US
the
couldn't really
yeah,
do much about it. There is a
yeah.
reason if Germany has been going steadily towards the finishing
And
line.
I think Biden is also very desperate to keep Germany on his side at the moment because especially with the upcoming elections in Germany, whoever wins the big fight on the 26th of September is going to be in charge of Nord Stream and stuff like that. So he's trying to really hedge his bets on that, and say, yeah, we're against it. However, we're not going to sanction you for it, just in
Yeah,
case
yeah.
conservatives win again.
I mean, at the end of the
So
day, Germany needs gas, and
yeah,
it's going to get it someday.
yeah,
And
exactly.
I mean, we did talk about Nord Stream in one of our earliest episodes, I think. Uh, there are going to be people that are against it because, for example, if you are in Ukraine, you don't really like the idea of Russia having
Yeah,
less of a reason to keep you alive.
exactly,
On the other
exactly.
hand, Germany needs gas, and if it needs to get it from somewhere, and
Yeah,
as far as they're concerned, in theory, it's a way for Russia to sell its gas to Germany. But on the other hand,
yeah,
it's a way for Germany, like Russia can close off the tap, and the idea that Germany has to do what Russia says. On the other
yeah,
hand, you could say Russia has to do what Germany says because they need German money,
yeah,
especially if you
exactly.
consider that Russia doesn't have much of an economy other than gas and some
Yeah.
natural resources, not many.
Yeah, like vodka and borscht and stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
let's be honest. That's after the sanctions, which came from the 2014 election, the invasion of Crimea, the systematic demolition of democracy in Russia. I don't think there's much of export that goes to the EU anymore, which except for vodka and borscht. So
yeah,
and oil, of course.
yeah.
So
Yeah, not even that
this is
much oil
this is basically all.
lately
Yeah,
because
yeah,
of
yeah,
COVID.
exactly.
So they don't even get that.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I think I mean we have Kenya here on the chat saying that he read today that 50% of the capacity of Nord Stream 2 has to be put to an auction to alternative companies. Yeah, and this is exactly I mean this is why the EU is. I'm more trusting in the EU to do something about the imbalance that this creates between Germany or between Russia and Ukraine than Germany itself. I mean, Germany is a member state. Member state will always do what's best for member state first.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Whereas the EU has broader kind of view on this.
The
They
units
have
do
the
what's better for the EU, which doesn't
exactly
necessarily mean that it's the best thing
good
for
for
Germany.
Germany. Yeah.
At the very least, not on the short term. Might be the best in the long term, but not on the short term. So
Black Owl mentions, by the way, that Russia also exports fake news. So yes, they definitely export that.
yeah,
That's one of their prime exports at the moment, I guess.
quite good at
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I mean the thing is, each side has its own reasons, and it's not like there's a good side or like a valid side. Each of those reasons are true in themselves.
Yeah.
It's simply a matter of each one has different priorities. Hopefully, you would hope that the EU, being a bit above the national interests, has more broader priorities.
Yeah.
It's more about
And
broader stability instead of having one country having it all. I mean,
yeah.
that's what we hope for the EU to be at least.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's really important. If you look at anything that member states do, it will always be selfish and self-interested in that. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, I think. I mean, member states have to look after their own populations first. So in certain situations, I would want them to do what they want. whereas the EU has much broader view on certain things, and
Yeah.
is much more reticent to, for example, sanction Russia for election interference, or step up to Turkey because there's also the asylum seeker issue that the rest of Europe doesn't want to deal with. So it kind of depends on the subject, but I think when you look at what the US or what the EU does versus its member states, it's really important to keep that kind of in mind. So may we live in interesting times, basically. We're hoping, of course, that the situation with Belarus doesn't escalate. We're hoping that the situation in Ukraine doesn't escalate. Although it's now the end of this end of school holidays, so it looks like they're going to start up again. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
That's what it feels like to me anyway. As a parent.
if we had 50,000 people in Ukraine, it would be a lot harder for tourists from Russia to come. Just saying.
True. Yeah. So you're saying you want the EU army to invade Ukraine?
It's not no, they are just there as tourists.
As tourists. Yeah. Blue tourists dressed in blue.
Yeah, meeting other tourists from another country and having a bit of a exchange
a bit
of
bit of
bullets.
exchange, of lead. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's just resource reallocation if you think about it. They give us their lead, we give them ours. It kind of depends on who gives more lead.
But did you know that other than
exactly 40, they're just tourists propping up the Ukrainian economy.
exactly, but Russia doesn't export just tourists; it exports news as well,
Yeah.
and the EU too does that. But our freedom in the press, it's not the best.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's better than everyone else,
yeah,
but it's not the
exactly.
best.
This is no. It kind of depends on where in the EU you are. Obviously, if you live in the greatest country in the EU, that's the Netherlands. Your press freedom is excellent.
Yeah,
But there are countries where it's not as excellent as in the West, as it were.
I mean,
And
even in the thing is, even in the West, there are issues. Just say, for example, the the idea that you either have, like, on one hand, when the press is under the control of the government or whatever, of the state, let's say, let's look just what happens in Hungary or Poland. Not the best news there, not the best freedom there. It's not, you're not really getting the best. But on the other hand, if you go full on private, let's say, then it just becomes about economics. Economics don't really value truth above. If you want to make money selling news, it's not necessarily the truth, or even not just the truth, but even the idea of having spending a lot of money towards an investigation, a deep one, can cost a lot, and then you don't really have much of a financial return. So I think, like, let's talk about, for example, the big ones like the Panama Papers, whatever. It's not like exposing the Panama Papers for whoever did that. Like, it's not just one. There was a bit of a collaboration there, but if you are one press group or whatever, you don't necessarily get back money out of it. It's not an investment in itself. You can,
and it's also very resource intensive. Let's be honest.
yeah, quite a lot. And it's not just resource
Journalists cost money.
intensive. It's it can be even literally life or death. Just look at what happened in Malta. Journalism can be quite one of the most dangerous job to some degree in Europe, if you think about it. Leaving aside those where you have manual work, where an accident can happen, and there we have deaths. But if you talk about jobs which are desk jobs, let's say, journalists can be quite. It can be. either death or other things can happen to you. It's not like
Yeah.
death
I
is the
mean, I
only
don't know
thing.
how it is in Italy, but we do have our share of problems with,
I mean, in Italy
press freedom and
we
stuff.
have journalists which have which the country gives them
Yeah,
what's
protection.
yeah, protection. We
Yeah, yeah,
literally
yeah.
have they always go with 2 or 3 policemen with them, which helps them.
Mm.
That's
Yeah, those are mostly the people that report on things like the mafia and
yeah,
stuff.
it's mostly the mafia here.
Yeah, yeah,
If you have someone going really against them, especially in the south,
yeah.
uh, they might need protection.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's not like everyone needs protection,
No.
but
But still, I mean, Italy's learned a lot since, the big trials in the 80s and the
yeah, I mean
70s.
we have
Yeah,
we had a full-on war with the mafia. It's not like everything
yeah,
got resolved. There was quite a few issues back then. It's not like everything was squeaky clean. There were deals probably made behind the doors and stuff.
yeah, yeah. I
There are
remember
still
seeing a Berlusconi documentary about
there
his life, and
there are
you know,
still court cases about that, about how Berlusconi might have done some things to make,
yeah,
maybe could have, the idea that in theory you shouldn't have any negotiation with
yeah,
terrorists, pretty much the same
yeah,
with mafia, but
yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean that everyone ever
That it doesn't
always
happen
does
exactly.
that.
Yeah,
Sometimes
yeah.
they do happen. So
Realpolitik is still realpolitik,
yeah,
isn't it? So
so we don't really
yeah,
know everything about that time, but anyways, being a journalist is not the easiest. Even
no,
if, and as I said, even if you leave aside the danger of it, then there's the economics of it. Literally, even if you have a small network or whatever, you publish news. Can you really afford to have, let's say, 3, 4 people working full time on a story, and you have to pay for them to go around the world
yeah,
to get your story, which is going to be one day your main news story, and it's not going
yeah,
to sell you any more than it sold the day before, when you could
yeah,
just have a stupid fluff piece or whatever.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, exactly.
when it comes to news, not the best, not really easy for them, especially when there's then, uh, you know, news is
Yeah.
mostly now digital. There's social networks.
Yeah,
There's
exactly. That reduces income as well. It's
there's
either
fake
it's
news.
either citizen journalism breeding fake news, or it's the state sponsored ones, which bring out the real stories. And I think we shouldn't forget, the kind of extra effect that the European state media has is also a cultural one. We see a lot about different cultures on the news, and providing analysis on something like that requires that you have a journalist who's been living there for a while. You know,
Yes.
um, so that nuance is often very much lost in the more commercial media. So while yes, Poland has problems with its freedom of press, and so does Bulgaria, and of course Hungary. Those are the three big baddies. Um, as far as the service that the public broadcasters provide is still a very very necessary one, which cannot be replaced by commercial interests. Although I mean that there are, this week, Politico, the company, was bought by a German conservative group called Axel Springer, um, and they aren't really known for interference in news items and stuff like that. So that's at least something good. But you only have to look at the U.S. to see how bad it can really get. When it comes to commercial stations.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important that the EU kind of takes that on board.
The
Um,
thing is,
and
which
yeah,
you know, just saying, since this is complicated stuff. Uh, the truth of the
no, you
matter
you
is,
can't possibly be saying that something that looks simple is super complicated.
yeah, it's not like
Uh,
the solution is isn't public or private. It's not about
yeah,
that. I think at the end of the day, it's not even about the news. Uh, the only way for, let's say, good journalism to thrive is if it has people that can, like, if it has an audience, let's say.
Yeah.
So the only way for an audience for more involved journalists to exist is through education. So at the end of the day, it's simply, I think it's more a matter of education. And I'm not saying about just finishing school or getting university. It's not about that. Here, university has nothing to do with it. This has to be education within your mandatory school, because there's no point if only those that go to university have enough education to understand the news or whatever. It has to be from the start, from the first
From
year
the
at
start,
school.
exactly.
It has to
And I think,
be critical thinking,
and
analysis.
also constantly.
Yeah,
And
and
also
that has
something
to be
that's,
constantly, exactly.
yeah.
It has to be
Because,
a
people are
society.
forgetful.
It has to be a
Yeah.
society where everyone has, like, the idea of critical analysis, of following the sources. Like, for example, one of the things, like, if you read a news article, which, by the way, it's something that I really hate. Most of the places don't even put their sources. What's the point? If you don't have the sources down there, there's
Well, we're
no
supposed to
difference.
trust you,
Yeah,
basically.
there's no
Yeah.
difference between you writing that and me writing a story that I dreamt last night. There's no difference if there's no sources. So
I mean, it's a matter of trust. You trust the newspaper to do its reporting. However, it would be nice for a newspaper to publish its sources and stuff like that.
well,
Because,
do you though? Because big ones, they do fairly often. They make mistakes when they. This happens more when they relay a news. So if something starts somewhere and becomes a big news, then it ends up on the main news channels. The thing is, that news might have been false or misleading in the first place, but they just reported on those reporting it, for example. And if you don't have the source from there to the original article, or at least being able to jump towards the original, it can happen that they just get it wrong, or maybe the original place it was. Let's say there is a research saying that, and then you see that the research is on a website of someone who paid for that research to be there. As in, it's literally like a private entity making that research. If you don't have the sources, it's a bit difficult to, if you don't have the context. And these are all things that the only way for that to be the case, that every article has sources, for example, is if people expect it there to be. Because if everyone expects it has to be there. Otherwise, no one is going to even look at your articles. And the only way to have that is for people be used to that, to expect that from a young age. So
I think TV journalism also kind of influenced that, because it used to be much more kind of, I mean, usually when they quote, an official institution or something, you can at least look for the official institution.
yes,
But because news has been made in such little bite-sized little things, on TV they don't even mention that. They just say, a research has shown that ...
yeah, and the thing
And
is,
that's something that should be should be finished, I think.
and
It's
the
not
issue is
something
that
you want.
on the bigger news sites, sometimes you have both, let's say, stupider articles that are there just to get the clicks so they can stay afloat, and which in theory pay for the better ones. But if you don't have enough control over the bad ones, let's say, the smaller ones or whatever, how can you lose the trust to then use on the bigger, more important articles,
Yeah, exactly.
and
And I
then
think
your
that
whole
that's the
brand
big thing, isn't
dies.
it? Yeah. So it's not even good for business, because one event can basically lay you low.
Well, the
It
thing
kind of
is,
reminds me what
it
happens in the United States,
it is good for business though. If the
yeah.
idea is to just sell, the thing that sells the most is not the most. I mean, just think what sells more: a title, which is like a slogan, or having a full-on article which explains every side and says it's complicated and it's a long read and you can just make it into a
Yeah.
one phrase. I mean, there is a difference between what is easier to sell and what it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
think we're living in a world of two different medias in that case, though, you know? I mean, then you have the initial shock value of an event, which generates headlines. And then you have the analysis afterwards, you know, and it kind of depends. I mean, if you look at companies that do both, you know, newspapers that do both, there's very few that I can mention. You know, the Financial Times is one. Reuters is another.
yeah,
But nationally, I don't think we really have those, do we? I mean, that provide both, except for, of course, the public broadcasters, because they don't have necessarily a duty to the watchers. You know, they have a duty to the government to provide, you know, a good analysis and good news.
yes,
Yeah, and therefore the public as well. But you know,
yep.
it's
It,
more a kind of distant relationship.
yeah, but the thing is, it can work only if you have a certain kind of government. Like, for example, in the Netherlands, the freedom of
Yeah,
press is quite good,
yeah,
but that's because you don't have an authoritarian regime. You don't have Orban. If you had Orban, he would
yeah,
probably still make the national news be a bit murkier. He would be able to, and then
yeah,
you would have worse freedom of the press. And obviously, I'm saying if the Netherlands was hungry, it would be worse, obviously. But what I'm trying to say is that it's not like the Netherlands or the Dutch are necessarily special. It's more about of having. It's not even like just one piece, which is the solution of it all. The only way is to have every piece in place. There's a lot of
yeah,
pieces. Each one is complicated. In its own. So yeah, have fun fixing news.
yeah, yeah.
I
There's
guess.
just no way, you know. There's just no way. But you know, I mean, when we're talking about media freedom, you know, you know, I think in Europe we have a different definition than in other places.
Well,
You know,
yeah,
because
yes.
because of our because of our because of our, you know, shared history. You know, the things that happened during World War II, for example, really played into that. You know, and the whole of Lügenpresse that the Germans had. You know, we already know what fake news is. We've lived it, and I
But I
think,
mean,
you
you
know,
did. I wasn't alive yet.
yeah, 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 yeah. You know, when I was a little boy in Galilee, you know, and
And you were hearing Goebbels with
yeah, yeah,
writing
you know, no,
articles.
no, no, I was already well into my fourth century then, you know, so
Yeah.
you know. Boomer me. Um, anyway, you know, I mean, I think, you know, when it comes to press freedom in the EU, I think the EU should do a lot more. The problem is, again, you know, the member states are the ones that hold all the reins at the moment. The Commission doesn't really have any tools to make
But the thing
the,
is,
for
it's
example, Hungary or Bulgaria do what it wants. You know.
let's be honest, it's literally. I mean, you can improve it somewhat, I guess. But if you want to actually improve it a lot, like make it good, you need to revolutionize. I'm not saying every facet of society, but quite a lot. I mean, if you need to revolutionize a lot, from having a more liberal government, the constitution, its institution, you need the education to be made in a different way and have. It's so difficult to have everything go that way.
Yeah.
I mean, just for an example, since we're talking about Hungary, in their education, when it comes to the history of Hungary, they have a bit of it's a bit of a tale more than an history. It's about how they came there and they
Yeah.
conquered the place, but it was like theirs. And then when they arrived, they were the righteous people. But then when other
Yeah.
people arrived to conquer them, they were the
They
bad
were not
guys.
the right people. Yeah.
While they
Exactly.
did the same thing in the and that's like their tale.
Yeah.
So and this is the thing is, it's not like Orban started it, and the idea of having a
Yeah.
more tale version of your history is something that
Yeah.
quite a few European countries do.
Yeah, and it's
Italy has it
attractive
to
as
some.
well, you
I
know. I
mean,
mean, you create this kind of narrative around yourself, you
you
know. Oh
Dutch
yeah,
have
we're
it as well to
special.
some degree. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
like you,
definitely,
especially
right?
when it comes to colonialism and stuff. It's more like, yeah,
Oh,
it was
yeah.
not
It wasn't that
that
bad, you
bad.
know, and we
But
really did well for them, and oh
yeah,
yeah.
it's not. If you go to the UK, the greatest empire in the world, whatever, it's not like, yeah, we did some bad things. Each one
Yeah.
has. Uh, so I've been called on Roman
I can see it.
Empire, yes, but no one
Yes.
thinks the Roman Empire was necessarily good people. And that's because
No.
they killed Jesus, you know?
Yeah.
Italians, we know
Owning the
how
libs,
to
exactly.
go
Yeah.
about it. We,
Italy is the penultimate state, the ultimate state when it comes to owning the libs. You know, since the Roman Empire killed Jesus. You
yeah.
know, you can't get any more owning the libs than that. You know.
So
Oh gosh, everyone's just copying you at the moment. You know, that's just it. You know, we've been here before. You know, nothing new.
yeah, we have both the Roman Empire is the greatest, and yeah, but they killed Jesus, and we like Jesus, so not the greatest tale. We have it all. As always,
Exactly.
Italy being
Yeah.
ahead of
By the way, in
everyone.
our chat, there's a massive Poland-Hungary love fest going on right now. You know, about owning the libs. But I'm just saying, you know, the Romans were first. You know.
Yeah, yeah, we killed
Yeah, definitely.
we
Yeah.
killed Jesus.
Killing Jesus, you know, invading France, you know, I mean,
Yeah, we
these
did
are all things that.
all the important bits have been done first here. Speaking
Uh,
about important bits, since
yeah.
it's almost over, I think we could go about COVID updates.
Oh yeah. Go
So
on then.
I just want
Yeah.
to. So we talked about it a bit at the start. Apparently, it was. I don't remember if it was Oxford or another. Anyways, it was a British university. It had a like the research.
Yeah.
Apparently, Pfizer, after 3 or 4 months, no, I think 4 months, becomes as effective as AstraZeneca, and after six
Yeah.
months, AstraZeneca is even a bit higher than Pfizer. I think those were
Mm.
the numbers. So now
Yeah.
it becomes less effective at not catching COVID, but the effectiveness at not needing an hospital are
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
quite
I
high.
still the main reason to kind of take it. You know?
Yeah,
I
no.
mean,
So it's
let's be honest.
even after
Yeah.
those 4 6 months, you still there. Like it's not like it's ineffective anymore. But if the idea is, if especially if after further researches, we found out that you need the third. We already are talking about the third vaccination now, right? The third shot is
Yeah.
already something that most of Europe and the US are talking about.
Exactly.
If you need the third one after we decide that it's after 6 months, let's say, or even 4 months, it would be even worse. But even if it's like 6 months,
Yeah.
the amount of time to vaccinate fully the full population is probably like 4 months. If you go, I think it's probably around
Yeah, I mean
that.
that's what we saw basically, isn't it?
We start,
You
yeah,
know, it takes 4 months to get everything ready, and then start vaccinating people en masse. You know, that's
I mean, it
the idea. Yeah.
in full. It took longer for us. We are still not
Yeah.
done. So, but like it takes longer than 4 months. But
Yeah.
maybe in the next shot, since everything else was already in place, maybe it's going to be enough. But on the other hand, maybe not because there might not be enough vaccines. But if it takes, let's say, 5 months
Yeah.
and you need to get vaccinated every 6 months, that means that literally your country has to be on a vaccine cycle forever.
Yeah.
Because you get
Forever,
your
basically. Yeah.
vaccine after everyone has been vaccinated, you
You
need
have to start
yours
again. Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
no point in time where Italy doesn't need COVID vaccinations or
Yeah.
Germany
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever. And if that happens, it means that obviously, as it's already been, even if we have some measures in place to make it so poorer countries get some
Yeah. It's
vaccines,
nowhere near enough. Exactly. It's
obviously
nowhere near enough.
there is still the market, and we are still richer, we get more.
Yeah.
But the issue is, if we keep getting all of the vaccines, that means the full world, the world
Yeah.
is never
The
going
rest of
to
the
get,
world is never going to catch up. I mean,
and that
I
means
was.
new variations of COVID. That's the big issues,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, not only that, I mean, yeah, exactly. The variations of COVID and the mutation of COVID is something that we really should be worried about. I mean, if you look at, for example, what's happening in the poorer countries, instead of having a full dose, we have two full doses now. We're talking about a third, right? And
Yes.
those countries having half a dose is already something, but half a dose doesn't protect you. It just immunizes the COVID that's already there, as it were, through the vaccine, giving it more chance to mutate, into something more dangerous.
So
So, I mean,
wait,
it's much more insidious than people, I think,
before we go
realize.
fully into this topic, both me and my co-host, we know jack shit about virus mutations and
Yeah.
how they work. So
Well,
uh,
I just know that there's the Microsoft antivirus can't defend against it.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
the
it
most
hasn't
of our
detected it at all. It's a shitty virus scanner. Don't use it
what we are
for
now
detecting COVID.
what we are
We
now
are
basing
definitely not
our logic
experts. Yeah,
here. It's mostly about the more something is alive, the more time it has to have evolution do its thing
yeah,
and have
exactly.
mutations.
Yeah. And
Therefore,
again, let me just preface this that saying that Dante is way smarter than I am. So
yeah,
that
no,
sets the bar a little bit.
yeah. I mean, the floor here is for both me
Yeah,
and you. It's really low. Everyone can be smarter than us. So nothing we say is smart. So
exactly.
keeping that in mind, if
Way to shoot ourselves in the foot, Dante. It's
yeah,
great.
hey, you know what? Our podcast makes people feel smart, not
Yeah,
because we say smart things, but because they feel smart because we are stupid. And is
yeah,
there
exactly.
any
They
feeling
make you feel
better?
superior. Exactly. Feeling superior is the European way of life, people.
Yeah.
So,
So you
enjoy
can.
it while it lasts.
So you live your day, you live your week, full of issues. Nothing goes the way you want. Then you have your weekly Eurocast episode where you can feel smart about yourself. You are
Yeah,
actually
exactly.
smart. I mean, it's more than us at least.
More, yeah, 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 exactly. It's not very hard to do.
Yeah,
All you have to do is not be us.
yeah. I mean,
That's
but at least you feel good about yourself,
exactly, exactly.
and
But I think
you need that because we are all going to
yeah,
die of COVID because COVID is
we're
never
all
going
going
to
to die
get.
of COVID. It's going to be either a COVID variant, or it's going to be COVID 20.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm sure which will be on the way soon to an airport near you.
yeah.
So please do travel. It's very healthy for you.
So the thing is, I wonder. So we know, in theory, as I said earlier, in theory, after a few months, you still have a relatively good protection about, as in not needing to get hospitalized, but you have a lower protection when it comes to catching COVID. Are richer nations going to say, okay, it's enough, so we don't do vaccinations too often to make it so poorer country get their shot? or do we not? Because people want to get vaccinated. And I mean, on the other hand, are people even going to be on board with getting a third shot, a fourth shot, a fifth shot? That's another a whole other can of worms. I
Yeah,
don't know if it's going to be that easy. Although to be fair, I guess those that got their first two shots, they're going to be, already did it,
yeah.
might as well do it again. But
Yeah,
maybe they
I think,
don't.
I mean,
Who
the
knows?
uptake won't be a problem. I think it's mostly, uh, and to be honest, all the ones dying of COVID right now are the unvaccinated anyway. So,
Yes.
that helps as well with the intake. Do you want to die, or do you just want to spend a nice time in a nice European hospital room? I mean, that's the difference. And I
Yeah.
think, I mean, it kind of depends per European country, but I saw statistics from, for example, Bulgaria, where vaccine uptake is still very, very low. We're talking about in the 30% range or something, versus how it is in Italy, who went went through the a massive death wave at the start of COVID, and that basically primed everyone for saying, okay, vaccine good, so with that in mind, I mean, across Europe, it will be, of course, different per country.
Which,
I
by the
think,
way,
yeah,
since you were speaking about Italy for a sec there,
yeah,
we might, in the coming month,
mm,
start having our first yellow region. Now, like as some of you might know, uh, most countries have a system of
yeah,
colors or whatever to say how much COVID is serious in that place and
mm,
the restrictions needed. So in Italy, there's the red zone, which is the
mm,
highest one. You can't
yeah,
do pretty much anything there. Then there's
mhm,
orange, yellow, and then there's white, which is what we have right now, which is
yeah,
mostly free, but you need to wear a mask outside and a few
mm,
small things.
yeah, yeah,
Sicily might go towards yellow because apparently their hospitals are getting all full and
yeah.
they're
Okay.
getting quite a few people getting COVID. Sicily is one of the regions where vaccinations are the lowest.
Yeah.
So, I mean, quite obviously, less people vaccinated, more people get COVID, and
Mm.
more hospitals
And
get
die.
full.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So,
Mm.
the thing
But
is,
that's quite worrying, to be honest,
yeah,
to me,
the
because
issue is that,
those regions probably won't change just because this is still something that will have a problem with when the new COVID-20 pops up,
yeah,
which should be any time this year, people, you know.
I just
We
want to
can expect,
remember people
yeah,
how last year went. We had
mm,
summer. We pretty much lifted off lockdowns and everything. We
mhm,
all had a wonderful summer last year, doing
yeah,
whatever. And then
yeah,
October came, and we went in lockdown for 4 or 5 months.
yeah.
So
So
hopefully it
expect
doesn't
that
happen
again,
again.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It looks
Exactly.
like it's
I think
happening already.
yeah.
I hope it doesn't, but it looks
I mean,
like it
it's kind of the
does.
end of the summer. This is the time, This is
Yeah,
the
it's
time.
starting
I
to.
think it takes 2 weeks for the COVID to
Yeah, in theory,
go
yes.
from being a problem and then taking you to hospital.
Uh,
So
yeah, I mean,
uh,
2 weeks is the amount of time for
yeah.
symptoms to show up.
Mm.
So,
And
it,
then another 2 weeks
I mean, it
until
might
you're
take.
you're gasping for air. So
I mean, it
um,
depends. Some get
yeah,
symptoms, the next day gasp for air, and then day after they're dead. So some take longer, some shorter. Depends. Obviously, each person has
yeah,
different a different system. But yeah, the issue is that if Sicily is starting, obviously they have an issue of not enough people getting vaccinated,
yeah,
but we still have around Italy quite a few people that didn't get vaccinated.
mm,
Some because are in the process, so those are not
yeah,
too much of an issue. But there are quite a few people that don't want to get vaccinated,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
even if they might be right now a small percent over the total population, if you go
yeah,
about it as in absolute numbers, I don't know. I didn't do the actual math here, but it's probably enough to still saturate
Yeah, the
hospitals.
hospitals,
It's not like we
exactly. I
have
mean,
that many hospital beds. We have
yeah.
a lot more people that don't want to get vaccinated.
Mm,
So even if a lot of people, even like 70% of people have been
yeah.
vaccinated, whatever, uh, we are still getting a lot of people that can get COVID, go into hospitals, have them
Mm,
full, and therefore you need to
yeah.
go back towards lockdowns or stuff like that.
I mean, the thing is as well, that when you lock up hospital capacity, when something big happens, you're fucked, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
obviously
so
we have thresholds, as I said
yeah,
earlier, the numbers there, the colors,
yeah,
so white, yellow, orange, red.
mm,
There are some
yeah,
thresholds, as in the amount of people that get COVID each week,
mm,
the amount of beds that are being used. The higher you go, the more restriction are put in place, because obviously you can't just start when you have 90% of hospitals
mm,
beds in use, because if everyone is there, as soon as one person goes on the road and has an accident,
yeah.
there's no bed. Just
Yeah, 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 exactly. I mean,
just stay
this
there.
happens in America at the moment, and
Yeah.
that we don't want that. We definitely don't want to get to that. But I mean, if you look at, for example, what the EU is doing about it, I mean, the Commission has now started setting up mRNA factories in Africa as well. So it's not like we're not doing anything to kind of stop the newest COVID from coming either.
Yeah, I mean,
It's just
we are
it's very
doing
slow and it
things,
costs a lot of money, and
but
that's
it's
that's the
not
thing.
easy.
So
Yeah.
no, it's not easy and it's not fast. I mean, I think it takes about 6 months to set up a factory before it outputs any type of vaccine. So if the commission now
I mean,
gives money to
if you said,
Burkina Faso,
I mean,
then
just saying 6 months, it's actually really fast.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah, it's very fast, compared to how it would have been 10 years ago.
I mean,
And
compared to anything, like if you want to, I mean, even just to make a shed, it takes like 6 months. I mean, making a factory
yeah,
in 6 months is actually quite
yeah,
impressive, to be honest.
exactly, and that's very nice.
But
So in the last few minutes, I'd just like to say that just like to quickly change the subject and apologize for my cat, who's been meowing at me for about an hour now. I'm looking straight at her.
yeah, now we don't hear it, so it's fine.
No, yeah, oh, you didn't hear it? Oh, because she was seriously like sitting here going meow,
I
and I
mean,
was like,
I don't.
whoa.
I don't know about everyone else, but the most
Yeah,
important is me because I'm
yeah,
recording it. So as long
yeah.
as I don't hear it, it's not in the recording, so it's fine.
Oh gosh, Yeah, yeah, and you're Italian, which makes you extra special.
Yeah,
Yeah,
obviously.
that helps.
Yeah, we are all special
Yeah,
here in this
yeah.
wonderful country.
So how, talking about my cat, of course, makes me wonder about your cat. How's Chicho? How's our mascot doing today?
Oh, he's doing fine. He's a bit scared because I put a VR goggle in my eye. Like it's a
Oh
bit.
yeah, of course.
I got myself an Oculus Quest, so now I have two VR headsets in my house, and
Oh gosh.
it can be a bit of an issue because Chich might come and get. I didn't kick him yet, so that's good. Didn't
Well,
happen
you give
yet.
him a headset is my question, is my follow-up question then, because I would love to see a cat think that it's somewhere else,
Yeah, in VR,
run into a few
yeah.
walls.
I mean, my cat is already stupid enough, so let's not make it worse, shall we? And
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
with that wonderful idea in our heads,
Yeah.
let's
Let's make this the last idea in our heads for tonight.
and yeah, let's just say goodnight
let,
here.
let, 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 let's just have a snore shut up. That's probably the best thing.
Yeah, I mean, you and me both. Let's just shut
Yeah.
up and close
Let's
it.
just shut up. Okay.
So let's uh, let's
Yeah.
come here
So
again next week, same time,
yeah,
10
next week,
p.m.
same time, always the same time. If it's not you, it's me. If it's not me, it's you.
Yeah,
And I think
yeah. There's always
nobody
going to
is
be
both of us.
someone. I mean, if it's not me,
Exactly.
Snor doesn't know how to do it by himself, so it's not
Yeah,
going
yeah,
to happen.
yeah,
But
exactly. I'm a total boomer, so if so, then you'll find us on the audio channel. But chances are that by next week, because this is something that I do want to say, I've reinstalled my laptop, right? A completely new version of Windows on it. No exterior programs except for OBS and Chrome. So I will be, and of course Discord. So I will be able to broadcast from my laptop from this week onwards. So yay!
so come join us on the after chat if you want, on the
Yeah,
voice chat.
yeah,
You can join us on our Discord server next time. You can even ask to talk, so we
yeah.
can have
And if
someone
we
smart.
see you, then we might even invite you. So
Exactly. You can find us on Twitch live, and we are on YouTube with the VODs, so you can find us
that's right.
there as well.
Yeah,
We are everywhere.
yeah. We
That
are
mean,
everywhere. We're like COVID.
yeah,
You can't get rid
exactly.
of us, and we're everywhere. So.
Doesn't matter what you do, you're going to catch us. So that's it. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. See you next week.
Bye
Night night.
bye.